What happens when a school lockdown isn't just a drill, but the beginning of a nightmare? Tonight, I'll tell you 3 chilling true stories from schools across the country that will haunt you long after you've heard them. It was just another ordinary Tuesday morning at Pinewood High. The students were lazily making their way to their next class after a brief break. Their laughter echoed through the hallways, but that peacefulness was shattered by a loud bang. At first, it sounded like someone dropping a textbook, but then it happened again, closer this time, followed by the unmistakable sound of something metal clanging against the floor. At first, no one thought much of it. Maybe it was part of some prank. But when the principal's voice crackled over the intercom, everything changed. Attention, students and staff, this is a lockdown. This is not a drill. I repeat, this is not a drill. Lock all doors, stay inside your classrooms, and remain silent until further notice. Do not open the doors for anyone. The voice was calm but strained. And there was something in that calmness that sent a chill down everyone's spine. Students scrambled to lock their doors, their faces pale and filled with fear. Most of them had never experienced a real lockdown before. Some of them thought it was just a drill, but others, they knew something was wrong. Something was very wrong. What the hell is going on? Sarah. I don't know, but I don't think this is a drill. They sat in silence for what felt like hours, the clock ticking away painfully slowly. Then came the footsteps. At first, they thought it was just a teacher walking through the halls, but the footsteps were too slow, too deliberate. Jason's eyes darted to the window, his heart racing. He could see nothing, but the footsteps, they were getting closer. The sound was unmistakable, echoing down the hall with each passing second. Jason's heart pounded in his chest. His breathing quickened. It was coming closer. The footsteps stopped outside the classroom door. His eyes widened, and his hands clenched into fists. He could feel the tension in the air, thick and suffocating. They weren't alone. What do we do? Sarah asked, voice shaking. Mrs. Taylor, their teacher, stood motionless at the front of the room. Her eyes were locked on the door, her body frozen in place. She didn't dare move. Every breath seemed too loud in the silence. A single tap echoed on the door. It was soft at first, almost like a knock, but then it repeated. And then came the scratching. Nails, dragging against the wood, each scrape sending a shiver down their spines. Jason's breath caught in his throat. He leaned back in his chair, his body tense as if ready to run. But where could they go? Then, suddenly, it stopped. The scratching ceased, and all that remained was the silence. The kind of silence that swallowed everything. No one moved, no one dared to breathe. But then, a loud bang. The door shook. Jason could feel the vibrations under his feet, the sound reverberating through the walls. Mrs. Taylor jumped, her hand flying to her mouth as she stifled a scream. Her eyes, wide with terror, met Jason's. His body tensed, and he felt his heart skip a beat. What was out there? Who was it? But when they finally opened the door, there was nothing. No sign of anyone in the hallway. No intruder. No trace of whoever, or whatever, had been out there. The lockdown was lifted after what felt like an eternity. The students cautiously filed out, their eyes scanning every corner, every shadow. But when the police arrived and began their investigation, they found nothing. No signs of forced entry. No strange footprints. No evidence of anyone trying to get in. But the most chilling discovery came when they checked the school's security footage. There was nothing. No sign of an intruder. The only footage was of students walking between classes earlier in the day. No one had seen anyone approach the building. No one had seen anyone leave. Some say it was a ghost, others say it was a prank, but the truth is, no one knows. The mystery of the silent intruder remains unsolved. And Pinewood High? It's never been quite the same since that day. Westview Middle School, a place that seemed so familiar, so safe. A school where students hurried through the halls, laughed with their friends, and went about their day without a care in the world. But one day, that peace would be shattered. This is the story of how a beloved teacher disappeared without a trace, leaving a ripple of fear and unanswered questions that still haunt the school to this day. It was an ordinary morning in March of 2017. The students of Westview Middle School filed into their classrooms, chatting about the latest gossip or the homework they forgot to do. But there was something unsettling in the air, an unease that no one could quite place. Mrs. Henderson, a teacher in her mid-40s, stands at the blackboard, her gentle eyes scanning the classroom. She's known for being kind, patient, and encouraging. The students in her class are fond of her, especially the quieter kids who appreciate the safe environment she's created. Today, she's helping one student with a math problem, her voice calm and reassuring. I wonder where Mrs. Henderson is. She's usually always here by now. Sarah glances over at her friend Emily, who is busy scribbling in her notebook. Sarah leans over, tapping her gently. Have you noticed? Mrs. Henderson hasn't said a word today. She's been quiet since the bell rang. Yeah, that's weird. I thought she'd be talking by now. The class continues to work quietly, but there's an undercurrent of discomfort now. The absence of Mrs. Henderson's usual chatter seems off. The students exchange uneasy glances as the clock ticks toward 8:45 a.m. It wasn't long before the students started to realize that Mrs. Henderson wasn't the only one who seemed off. She hadn't made her usual announcements. She hadn't checked in with the other teachers for her daily meeting. And worse, no one had seen her leave her classroom. At 9 a.m., the principal's voice suddenly crackles over the intercom. It's sharp, hurried, and a stark contrast to his usual calm demeanor. Attention, all teachers and staff, please be advised, Mrs. Henderson is missing. Please check your classrooms and hallways for any signs of her presence. We are attempting to locate her at this time. All students remain in class. Lock the doors and secure the premises. The announcement came like a jolt to the students of room 103. For a moment, no one moved. No one spoke. They simply stared at each other, unsure of what to do next. Mrs. Henderson missing? It didn't make sense. Sarah looks up from her desk, her eyes wide. Emily, now visibly concerned, stands up and moves to the front of the class, where she asks Mrs. Henderson's assistant, Mr. Lawson, if anyone has seen their teacher. Mr. Lawson, have you heard anything about Mrs. Henderson? She's been gone for so long now. Is she okay? I haven't heard anything yet. We're still trying to figure out where she went. Just stay calm, okay? We'll handle it. Emily looks back at Sarah, her face pale. A sick feeling twists in Sarah's stomach. She never misses class. Not like this. No, there's no sign of Mrs. Henderson. We've checked her desk, the teacher's lounge, nothing. I'll check the cameras. No, I don't think she left. She's too professional for that. Minutes turned into an hour, and still, no sign of Mrs. Henderson. The school went into full lockdown mode. Staff members began sweeping the halls, knocking on doors, and looking in every classroom. The police were called, and they arrived in force, methodically searching the entire building. But what they found was nothing short of horrifying. The janitor, a quiet man named Charlie, was the first to notice something strange in the back hallway. He'd been cleaning for the past hour, moving between classrooms, and had seen nothing unusual. But when he went to restock his supplies, something caught his eye. A door in the back hall was slightly ajar. The closet was supposed to be locked. That's strange. I locked that door earlier. He approached cautiously and opened the door. It was dark inside, but as his eyes adjusted, something caught the light. At first, he thought it was trash. But then, his heart dropped as he saw the unmistakable sign of something darker, a piece of paper with Mrs. Henderson's handwriting, pinned to the wall of the closet. The note was unsettling in its simplicity. The note read, "I never meant to hurt anyone. But I had no choice. I'm sorry. It's too late now. Help! Charlie stumbled back, the paper slipping from his hand as a cold shiver ran down his spine. The school's janitor immediately called the police, and within minutes, officers were on the scene. They started searching every inch of the building, examining every security camera feed. What they found next, however, left everyone speechless. The security footage showed Mrs. Henderson walking down the hall earlier that morning, just like any other day. But then, the footage became odd. It showed her entering the teacher's lounge. But after that, it cut to black for nearly an hour. The feed resumed, and Mrs. Henderson was gone. No one could explain the gap. What does this mean? Why is there a gap? Where did she go? The investigation continued for days, but there was no sign of Mrs. Henderson. No one had seen her leave. There were no witnesses. Just a vanished teacher and a school left in chaos. Weeks went by. The police could not solve the case. But as time passed, something else emerged, something even more disturbing. Another student came forward. A girl named Jessica, who'd always been quiet in class. She claimed she had seen Mrs. Henderson that morning. But what she described was not the teacher she knew. She looked different. Her eyes were wide, and she wasn't talking like she usually does. She was muttering something, almost like she was in a trance. I thought I imagined it, but now I'm not sure. Was it Mrs. Henderson at all? Or had something taken her place? The truth remained locked behind the doors of Westview Middle School. To this day, no one knows what happened to Mrs. Henderson. Her disappearance remains one of the school's greatest mysteries. Some say she left on her own, others believe she was taken. But the whispers that float through the halls of Westview still tell another story, one of something much darker that hides in plain sight. Westbrook High School, once a place of routine and familiarity, would soon become a place of unimaginable fear. It was supposed to be just another normal day in early December 2018. Students walked the halls, their minds preoccupied with the approaching winter break. But for some, that day would be forever etched in their memories. What happened in those hallways would change everything. It was just after 9:30 a.m. Jordan sat in his first period math class, doodling in the corner of his notebook. He'd been distracted all morning, his thoughts consumed by the upcoming exams and his plans for the weekend. His teacher, Mr. Williams, was giving a lecture at the front of the room, the usual hum of the classroom filling the air. But something about that morning felt different. Jordan's eyes flickered nervously toward the window, the distant sound of sirens wailing in the background. The sirens were faint, almost like a part of the distant city noise. But they felt out of place. A subtle unease had begun to creep into his thoughts, though he couldn't quite place why. "Dude, you good? You look like you just saw a ghost." "Jordan. I'm fine, man. Just distracted." The bell rings, and students shuffle around, collecting their things to head to the next class. It's the beginning of what feels like a routine transition, students moving between classrooms, chatting with friends. But for Jordan, that unsettling feeling remains. Something's off, and it lingers in the air, thick and oppressive. What Jordan didn't know, as he moved through the hallway between classes, was that the storm had already begun. Somewhere, within the school's halls, a student had made a choice that would change everything. As Jordan reaches the entrance to his next class, the loud crack of gunfire rips through the building. It echoes through the hallway, sharp and thunderous, causing the students to freeze in their tracks. The noise is followed by another shot, and then another. At 9:45 a.m., the first shots were fired. Panic sweeps through the hall. Students scream and begin running, shoving each other in their desperate attempt to get to safety. Jordan stands frozen, his eyes wide with terror. He's not sure what to do or where to go. The students around him push and shove, trying to escape the chaos. The intercom crackles to life. Intercom. This is not a drill. This is not a drill. Lock down the classrooms immediately. Lock all doors and stay away from windows. Stay hidden. Stay quiet. The intercom cuts off abruptly, and the building is filled with the sound of students shouting in panic, but then it all suddenly fades into a hushed silence. The echo of footsteps, distant gunshots, and a high-pitched ringing in Jordan's ears are all that remains. Jordan's mind raced as he sprinted into his classroom, slamming the door shut behind him. His heart thudded painfully in his chest, his breath coming in sharp gasps. Mr. Williams was already at the door, locking it as the students scrambled to hide under desks and in corners of the room. Everyone, get under your desks now. Stay down and don't make a sound. Keep your phones on silent. Jordan dives under his desk, his knees scraping against the floor as he curls into a ball. He can hear the pounding of his own heart, drowning out the sounds of chaos outside. The classroom is eerily quiet. The only sound is the soft breathing of his classmates, trying to remain hidden. His palms sweat as he clutches his phone, staring at the screen, waiting for an update, some sign that this is all just a nightmare he can wake up from. Do you think he's coming this way? The shooter, I mean. I don't know. I don't even know what's happening. We need to stay quiet. The silence in the room was deafening. Every student was crouched low, some holding their breath, others silently praying. No one moved. No one dared speak. The only sound was the distant thud of running footsteps echoing down the hall. The clock on the wall ticks slowly. Every second feels like an eternity. Jordan can feel his body trembling, his muscles stiff from the strain of holding his position for so long. He desperately tries to listen, but the only thing he can hear is the pounding of his own heart. Time seemed to stretch. Each minute felt like an hour. Every creak of the floorboards outside the room made Jordan's stomach lurch. His mind raced, wondering if the shooter would find them next. If he would hear the doors crash open and see the barrel of a gun pointed toward him. Jordan, what if we don't make it out of here? What if we die today? No. We're going to be fine. They'll come for us. We just need to stay calm. Outside, the sound of sirens grew louder. But still, the uncertainty lingered. No one knew what was happening. No one knew how many shooters there were, or if they would come for the classrooms next. Everyone waited for what seemed like hours. Then, a sudden noise, the distinct sound of footsteps approaching the classroom door. Please, God, no. The footsteps stopped right outside the door. A silence followed, then a soft tapping. Just a light tap. A single knock that sent a wave of dread crashing over every student in the room. But then, the intercom crackled again, and this time, it was different. The voice on the other end was familiar, Principal Harris's voice, but it was filled with both relief and urgency. The situation is under control. The police have neutralized the shooter. The lockdown is over. Stay in your classrooms until you are cleared by officers. Help is on the way. The tension in the room doesn't immediately dissipate. The students remain hidden, afraid to move. But as they hear the sound of officers knocking on the doors and calling out their names, the weight of fear starts to lift, slowly but surely. When the lockdown was finally lifted, the students of Westbrook High slowly emerged from their hiding places. They filed out of the classroom in silence, their faces pale, their bodies stiff from the long wait. Outside, the police swarmed the building, securing every inch of the school, ensuring that the danger had passed. But for Jordan and his classmates, the real horror had only just begun. They would never forget the moment the gunshots rang out. The moment their lives were thrown into chaos, and they were forced to confront a reality far darker than they had ever known. Westbrook High would never be the same. And neither would they. And the most haunting part? In the days that followed, when the media and the police started piecing together the story, they learned something even more terrifying. The shooter, who had been a quiet, seemingly harmless student, had no clear motive. But a message he had written before the attack was found, scrawled in his notebook: "This is the last time anyone will ignore me." Sometimes, the monsters we fear are already among us. And we only realize it when it's too late.